Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello. Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Felt inspired to come on and make a part 2 of why bright line eating is dangerous. If you haven't heard my initial bright line eating podcast and my take on it and why I do not recommend it, you can go back to previous podcasts. It's probably around episode between 50 and 100, if I had to guess. Sorry, I should have looked that up in advance for you and failed to do that. Sorry, next time I will. I was so excited, honestly, to just talk about this because this burning passion just came alive as I was cleaning up my kitchen, as I'm preparing to go watch The Bachelor, which I do every Monday. And yeah, it was just oh my gosh, I need to talk about this. So where to begin? First of all, okay, so I want to share the crux of the position I was in right prior, okay, to getting food freedom. And it just so happens that the program that I was following, that was the one right previous to my getting into food freedom. It was called Bright Line Eating. And knowing neuroscience, right? So I'm the science nerd and I love habit and I love everything that has to do with the unconscious mind, obsessed. So obsessed with how we can create our own reality with our own mind. So obsessed with how we can literally get over any upset, literally you can heal your nervous system to the point of becoming a guru. If that's possible, to me, inner peace is to just be at all times and to have but also learn authenticity about myself, and obviously I stand for what I am for my clients. And yeah, to just and then the powers that we surrender to, but then the things that we control, and how do we know the little subtle nuances between it's just mastering the game of life. And to me, it's just absolutely nothing more exciting than that. Right. So anyway, the science that I know from hypnosis, right, is how those neural pathways are formed and how you can get instantaneous, personality change, transformation, through hypnosis. But then coaching is that avenue as well. It's the repetition of being in a group at the same time and rewiring again those neural pathways to have the belief system of your coach, who now has the reality that you want to have right now. That is the coolest thing ever. And working with that energy through the growth curve that happens whenever our values are shifting, intentionally expecting hardship as we make this incredible decision to design ourselves to be food freedom thinkers, eaters, beers, right? There is also an option to carve your mind to be crazy wired for, incredible, health. And that's where I'm getting into with bright line eating. So because I'm a health person, nurse by trade, and, always with all the health things, all the science things, I'm a science gal, have my, bachelor's degree in science in nursing. So that was always, that was the reason why my brain was always carved into perfect health, and always bought into science at any cost. And now, anyway, so bright line eating was based on science. It's all about the addiction to sugar and food addiction. And they have this susceptibility scale, and you got to say what your habits were, and then you can know if you were a 10 out of 10 on the susceptibility scale or a 1 out of 10 on the scale. And, based on my habits at the time, which all of my clients, when they come into the program, like habits are like this, right? Was just like, once I started eating sugar, I couldn't stop. Like I felt like I could not stop it and like whatever, like 100%. Like, and it feels like an addiction. Like it makes total sense. Everything in you is like, yes, I have a food addiction. I have a sugar addiction. And it's like declaring that has a certain power, right? Of just like, it's the kind of the same of like, oh, I'm an alcoholic, right? So it's just like the surrender to that is powerful, right? So I, you know, was on my own health journey, found that, got totally sucked into that science as a science person. And I had already experienced hypnosis just prior to this, like 3 or 4 years prior to this, had the food, body, and weight stuff, but then found like health stuff. Like I still was in other things and like isogenics and whatever. And then isogenics products made me feel like too attached to the sugar. And then the products of isogenics started making me break out. So I was like, well, I'm not going to have something that makes me break out. It doesn't feel, good to me. So anyway, then it was the sugar addiction. So now I found this thing. Okay, great. So what's wrong with that, Leslie? Okay, so it's so strict. So I have a friend, she and um, she has her MBA, I believe, and then also just like very versed in psychology because she's a mental health nurse. That's right, for a VA hospital. And she and I, frequently talk. So she is a Buddhist and like heavily practicing Buddhist, super smart girl. I've been friends with her for years, but also so committed to the path of consciousness and like just intuition, transformation, awareness, beingness, like also a leader, and like able to just, I don't know, just the way she navigates through life. So she and I will converse throughout the week on a regular basis. And she and I actually met inside of that program through like friends of a different friend or whatever. And that's how we ended up to be in this like little cohort. And now, engaging regularly. So she and I both had that experience. And this past week, we were talking about it. And as I am still like firming up our mission here at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, it's like having the full awareness of how brains work, and like right now I have this awesome opportunity to basically create the Bible of hypnosis for permanent weight loss, literally. Um, like create all like have everybody understand what I know about, the belief of I can't control myself or I can't lose weight because of my age or menopause or I can't stay consistent, I can't stay motivated. And I think there's one other one that I hear all the time. I think I already said like I just can't lose the weight period or whatever. But anyway, right? So these types of things. I'm a food addict, exactly what we're talking about. So and then getting people to see what I couldn't see when I bought into this program, because here's the thing that I know, okay? And here's the thing that I've learned and why it's just like such a thing. Okay. So bright line eating is a derivative of Food Addicts Anonymous. Okay. And so if you don't know anything about Food Addicts Anonymous, it's very strict. It's like extremely, all the things. So, and it comes from the same thing of like AA. So something that I love is something that I learned about the difference between AA and like Food Addicts Anonymous and Overeaters Anonymous. In the past, I remember in high school, a friend and I would like be going onto websites looking at Overeaters Anonymous for ourselves because we already felt like that crazy about food even in high school, and both of us felt like, my first diet was when I was 8 and her mom had gastric bypass surgery, right? The nicest, but like these things get ingrained in us, like the fear of gaining weight, like it passes on from generation to generation. So anyway, but I never went to an OA meeting, but I did go to an AA meeting. And I talk about this a lot because again, I'm so fascinated by just like we can create our reality by creating the structure of our brains. And like there is an actual way to pave those pathways like most powerfully, most effectively, and like make sure that you hit success, like it's not a question mark. Like you can literally achieve anything you want in this entire world, like anything. And it's just rinse and repeat the same ways to be successful over and over again. So AA is like one of those original structures that, through admitting you have a problem, surrendering to a higher power, um, going to regular meetings, having the community, having accountability buddies, right? Having study groups, like having events, like that's literally what every coaching program that you can enroll into should have for you so that you have success. Um, and so, it's just like, anyway, so there's AA, it works really well. Well, then it's moved over into OA, right? And this bright line eating again was the derivative of this. Now, the difference between food addiction and alcohol and drug addiction. So with alcohol and drug addiction, if someone has even a little bit of alcohol or a little bit of drugs, like they could literally die, like they have such an issue that they could die. A person, so it's like they need to be taken off their high horse, right? Oftentimes these personalities are like kind of harsh and kind of arrogant almost, like, yeah, whatever, I can do whatever, like, oh, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like there's often that. And so it's like for that personality to change, we need to cut that, right? And like go underneath, you know, and like just be like, you're nothing, basically. Literally, of just like, you are nothing, like, you are an alcoholic, like, let's get the ego to literally like, and it's like, it is necessary for that level of addiction because there's literally no other way. There's no other way to get it to stop, you know? And it's so dangerous, because like the impact is just so great for that, for them. With food, it's different. So while we need disempowerment for alcohol and drugs, for food, we actually need empowerment. For food, we actually need empowerment. Okay. So, like, all right, I've done thousands and thousands of calls at this point for all the 10 years that I've done this. I've been on the phone probably, oh God, 65%. And I like to tell the truth, like of this last several years. Like all my training and leadership training, I'm pretty relentless at not stopping. So anyway, right? So it's just like so ingrained to have the brain be that way. Okay, going back to the food, the empowerment. Okay. So anyway, all of these conversations that I've had over the years has shown me that it's primarily women, not all, primarily women. And it's usually the inner critic voice inside of the head that's just basically saying shitty things about yourself all day. Like, not nice. And like, don't really have self compassion and don't really feel inner peace at all. Like, you might be presenting as a totally together human being, but it's like, honestly, I'm not doing great, you know? And the eating is like a telltale sign of like this whole thing. So, anyway, it's the inner voice that's really, and it's the emotionality that we don't know how to feel, you know? And it's like so anyway, so again, that's the complete opposite of an alcoholic and a drug addict. Like, hopefully you can see that, right? It's like food addict, low self-esteem and self-worth, like not nice, like too nice, right? Probably like people pleaser stuff and like, and then, so like if you can like realize that you're awesome and you're a badass. And like anything is possible if I just like play this game of life very well, which is not always easy, you know? Like, I'll have to do another podcast on like the last year. I'm still reflecting on the last year. It was not as easy. 0% and 100% my soul asked for it. 100% I put myself in a coaching container to get it and to not give up on it, which was also hard because it hasn't been easy, you know, like it's been surrender zone in this other area of my life. Again, another podcast. I'm still putting all this together. Um, so yeah, but right. So just setting ourselves up for success for whatever it is. Okay. Anyway, so it's like we need to empower you to have this positive mindset, right? Now, here's the thing. So bright line eating, it since it comes from food addiction stuff, it and comes from AA, is 100% like disempowering you about yourself to like the shit of the shitters of the world, like to someone who already has a shitty ass inner mindset about themselves, even if they're not aware of it. Like, I don't even think that I knew how shitty my mindset was about myself until I had to get out of this program. Like, which literally felt like I had to get out of this program, you know? um, now, and this is why, okay, I will also have an asterisk because something that my friend complimented me on, and she was like, I don't think that this is seen a lot. As much as I really do strongly want people to understand about this concept I'm educating about right here, I do also know the benefits that that program had for myself and my life and learning what felt good to my body and what to eat and not eat and whatever. Like, and for certain like if you're about to die, you know, and like you need the hell of God spoken into you to get yourself to not die in 10 seconds, like maybe you could do this, you know? And still though, good luck doing it for the rest of your life. Like there's that. It's that simultaneously of like, and if you know, if someone is like, I'm doing this and like we can trust it a little bit, but I just like need there to be education for the people who are more like me, who might be science-based, understand addiction properties, understand how the mind works and coaching, uh, you know, who literally feels like she can't control herself around sugar, like so many human beings in the world. Which, okay, anyway, I could just hear someone else arguing of being like, everybody's a sugar addict. I'll have my asterisk to say about that. Right. But anyway, and maybe that's what, you know, they need to do or something. But anyway, the impact again of someone like us or me, however my listener is, right, is like not too good. So I lost the weight. I learned a lot of lessons. I feel like it helped me become like a little bit of an adult, like as far as when I wasn't, you know, because you're so rigid. You cannot eat any time outside of three meals a day. Every single ounce was measured. Tenth of an ounce was measured. And like you couldn't even have 1/10 of an ounce over, like say you had to have 6 ounces of fruit, like you could not have 1 ounce over the 6 ounces. And they literally said, like, if you did, then that is enough to send you in a complete downward spiral and never be able to stop eating the food. Like, and guess what happened? Like the old me, like, because that's what I was taught, I literally gained a inner psyche that I was going to completely spiral out of control if I was not perfect with every single aspect of the meals that I had to make for myself. You had to plan ahead the night before, no sugar ever, no flour ever. They said if you had any sugar, that it was more addictive than heroin. Um, And she had like this rat study about it, but then like years later I found out the debunked story about that of like that was just used as a way to get you to buy in, but the reality was that the um what was it? The reason why, I forget what it was, something else that was with the rat or with the whatever that was not actually true about that. But even if that one's not true, it's like it's just whatever you're like wanting to believe, and choosing to believe, or maybe just do believe at a current time and space that has you make whatever decision that you're going to make. Okay. It wired my brain to think that I was really, something was wrong with my brain, literally. I mean, if you're like, oh my God, I have a terrible addiction, like the woman who created the program, again, awesome leader. I believe she is being super authentic. Like, I believe it's who she is. It may be actually what her soul, and in her belief, it is what her soul has been put here for. And maybe it has, like, Lord knows she believes it, you know? And I saw her as the leader having a lot of pain and suffering and like binging while we were doing the program and coming on to like coaching calls, like kind of like doubled over of like, I had a binge last night. Like I just went and like she would eat like all this stuff. And she also was in FA since she was a tiny, like since she was a little girl, I think. But she was a drug addict and an alcoholic. So like her whole life has been that. Okay. And she was in that kind of state. In addition to that, she saved lives because of people following her program, right? Like completely had people, stay consistent and accountable, like probably longer than they ever thought was possible in their life. Like there's things that, but the impact of how much it messes up your mind to actually believe more that there's something wrong with you and that you can't control yourself. The perfectionist mentality and the black and white thinking. Like I did this program for 3 years. Good for me. I can also talk about it in my praises of being like, you know, I didn't drink alcohol for 3 years. Like I could count on, less than 10 times, maybe 10 times, maybe 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in 3 years. Did I not eat only the 10th of an ounce of what I planned the night before in a notepad? That was, yeah, like no sauces, like zero fun, like zero. So no alcohol. I didn't have caffeinated coffee for the 3 years. I had caffeinated tea. That was the extent of caffeine. Worked at a bakery for 2 years. Literally never had any of the sandwiches that we made, like at the coffee shop. And that was like a luncheon place too. Only had the same salad every day for 3 years. Like never, like she had fresh homemade baked goods and like never had it. Literally, like I could call her up right now and she'd be like, oh, never saw her eat any for 2 years, you know? Um, and the reason I was able to do that was because I believed I was broken. Like I was an addict and like I would tell you, I'd be like, no, 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 like I actually can't. Like it was like a allergy, you know? Okay. And then we continue to evolve. So here's the part where like I can really express to you the challenges that it also proposed. So I got down to 108 pounds at 5'2". I was living my life. It was all right. But there was like a part of my self-expression missing or something. I don't know. It was a little like, felt a little stripped of life. I remember thinking like I don't have any joy left in my life. Like I've taken all joy. Um, I met a woman who she actually used to partner up with the person who's in charge of that program. And she did a course that was Bright Line Healing. And she just always had this beautiful energy, right? And like again, why I also don't hate on the leader of Bright Line Eating. Like I actually she probably I don't know, like she's good human, you know. She means well and it's her belief system and she has every right to have her belief system. You know, it's like it's her Bible. Um yeah. So, and this other woman who did the Bright Line Healing, that they ended up parting ways because they just couldn't find how they could make each other's worlds work. And I get that. They don't work together. One woman claiming that you can like find balance with what you're eating. And like, and she was bulimic, like she was rated a 10, 10, 10 on the scale of food addiction. Like, never would be someone who could heal out of that, you know, and she like was with this woman, but then she did. But this woman, the other leader of the program, like she never did. And she's like, I just can't do that. Like, I can't, you know? And anyway, so I began kind of following this woman. And like, since I have a belief system of like anything is possible if I just carve my mind to do what they're doing, then it was like, I started following her and asking her, like, how did you do it? Like, you know, like what do you do? And she recommended a couple books and I wasn't quite ready to do her program yet. Um, but anyway, just knowing that that existed and I was like, like that, I could be that too then. It was like, all right. So all of a sudden at that point, I couldn't stay consistent anymore on my food program. Like what had been my sobriety structure of like, oh my God, and it's dangerous if you don't, became like almost impossible to get more than 2 or 3 days together doing that. And it was extremely scary because for the last 3 years, I was engaging with myself as like a literal like heroin addict, you know, like that amount of fear and anxiety about making one wrong move. And if you did, danger. Like it was like traumatic, you know, it was literally traumatic when you made a mistake. I've never said that out loud before. When you made a mistake off your food plan, it was traumatic. I'm pausing. It was traumatic. The emotions that were felt were absolutely traumatic. Anyway, so, you know, and I'm not the only one who experienced that. And I have another friend who I met in the cohort, and like literally, as she was going through, like, and also couldn't stay consistent, and she grew up on FA as a child and then, you know, ended up doing bright line eating. That's also how we ended up meeting. And as she was starting her healing process out of it, which by the way, she's doing great with it. Like she was anorexic. She's not anymore. She's also Buddhist now, like thriving, you know, like, I mean, we're all always working on our stuff, but she's doing good, you know? Anyway, she was literally very suicidal. I was very close with her during that time. And the amount of absolute upset it can be when someone has started dieting and was so scared of making their own food decisions and gaining weight and eating off plan, like when that's ingrained in you like that, like it was in me in 3 years, but imagine if you had it since you were 8 years old, like, or younger, you know, like, wow. Anyway, like it's just so impressionable at those ages. Like you literally like so ingrained in your belief system, you know? Like I had a health conscious and weight conscious mom and parents and grandparents, and that definitely messed me up. And you know, being on the diets and this type of stuff, but the fear-based ones, right? And this was my whole point that I was talking with my friend is like, it is so fear-based. Like that again, when you eat off the plan or you make a mistake, like it is so dramatic and painful inside of your body of like turmoil and like chaos and oh my God, like literally feeling like you just don't know what to do with yourself. Was my experience. I never was suicidal, but you know, I got support for myself because I know how much coaching helps. And luckily I know about how you can program your mind and I could see what was happening. I was like, I was like, I'm coming out of this, and like that is really tough programming to get out of, and I don't know how to do it. Like I don't, and this is where I find people's like diet mentality is a program. It is a program that is tuned in very loud in your radio station of your mind, like so loud, you know? And but diets make it quiet, because if you're not making a mistake ever because you're being perfect on it, then it keeps the loud out, you know? And this is, as women in general, like we're known to be perfectionistic, is like we expect, you know, everybody else and ourselves to be perfect all the time. So just puts us in just like this traumatic box. Yeah, to have the diet just like double down on that. Anyway, so that's the track that's playing. It's so fear-based. And it's shame that's talking. It's guilt that's talking, you know, and shame sounds like nasty. Shame is like, you don't deserve to be here. What the hell is wrong with you? Like, get the hell out of here. Like, you don't belong. Like, you don't even know it's saying it sometimes, but sometimes the reason you're eating is because shame is talking, you know, and once you put a voice to the feeling, it helps to like, you can see it and you're like, oh, whoa, like that's whatever that is. That's just what the neurolinguistic programming, like that's the opportunity to have when you choose to catch, like, because the thoughts equal the feeling. So if you catch the thought, you can change the feeling, you know? And it's just like, again, that's the reprogramming, you know, procedure, and just doing that over and over again to create something else. With that is also like trusting your process, you know, because like some people, their mindsets are already like right there and it can turn quick. And for some of us, it can take, right. And it depends on how long you've been dieting. It depends on how perfectionistic you are. It depends on how many other aspects of your life are out of alignment right now. Like if your marriage isn't supportive, then that may also exacerbate things. Like it's like things can kind of fall apart, but it's like so because you're growing, you know? It's like, so anyway, it's again having a coach to navigate through that stuff with until you get the peace is like the best, you know? Um, anyway, so, and then, okay. So the way that I had to get out of that, right? It was like, okay, I need, like, now I'm freaking done. Like, I need to learn how to be a normal eater, you know? Like, and I need to be done with this because I'm so effing done, you know? And sometimes before people find my program, like, that's where they're at. Like, I'm just done with dieting, you know? Maybe it wasn't off as severe as that, but it's just like, I'm done. So then when you take the rules off, you take the diet off, right? And you say, you know, I'm going to eat intuitively now, you know, I'm just going to not have rules, and I'm going to nurture my body, and I'm going to move my body what feels good to me, and not, you know, exercise myself to death anymore. Like, you know, like I'm not going to make any food bad and wrong. I'm not going to be the food police, you know, like all these different new concepts. It brings up, right? Okay, so then it's literally like, and what this type of programming does, like, and I really thought hard about this because I was like, I take it seriously of being like, are my clients' mindsets going to be helpful to them? You know, as a result, like, is this Bible that I'm going to be creating for everybody, right? Is this belief system ecological? Like, is this helping the greater world as a whole? Right. And I believe 100% yes. Like, is it going to positively impact the families and the societies of the groups that my clients are from? Like, 100% yes, because we're literally like, if you have negative self talk going on inside of yourself, like you, without knowing it, are attracting that same kind of energy into your sphere, right? Which can lead to like, I mean, it goes anywhere from like toxic marriages or whatever is like a telltale sign you have negative self-talk going on, like food addiction stuff, and like being a chronic dieter is definitely a sign of that. Being super successful or a leader at your job is a big sign of that. Like the way that those things that you get good at it is usually because there is a drill sergeant in your head that's just ready to shame you and blame you and guilt you anytime you F up. Right? It's just like you could, like, all successful people have are mental health cases. I mean, we all are, right? But like, we have resources because of being successful to better ourselves in these ways that can ripple effect love into the workplace, into our families, right? Into yeah, our communities, our society with each other. Like it's just the ripple effect, and like love is like the actual healing force on the planet. But if you're thinking terrible thoughts, anyway, so when you rip the band-aid off and you start to be an intuitive eater, you have to hear and see all of that shit, like you have to, it has to be seen, you know but what you find when you see it is how much better it feels once you see it. It's like, oh my God, I've been saying like you're a fat idiot, every time I see myself in the mirror, or like you you failed again, you stupid whatever, And it's like, oh, that's what's creating the anxiety. Like that's not nice things to say. And then you learn how to be compassionate, and then oh my God, now you're more compassionate to everyone out there because you can see yourself, so therefore you can see others in greater dimension and have more compassion and empathy. Also learn how to be with relationships like marriages for sure. Like there's just actual ways to communicate, that equals love. I had to learn all that too, because it just, especially for leaders, and the type of person I just described, it's like we are just wired to not have our personal lives work great, you know, because we're wired to be successful and be able to follow anything, right? The way we've been able to follow every diet and lose weight in the past and accomplish every goal, you know. But the wiring for self love and compassion is like how you have health, and it's how you have healthy relationships, So, like, I saw for myself, like, if I was never going to have a healthy relationship if I didn't go deep, you know? And that's something I deeply value, like being in a relationship, and like not just any relationship, like a great relationship, deeply value, you know? It's like the heart and center of your whole soul, you know? And I feel like there can be like the power of two people who are on like a spiritual path and like desiring, I don't know, having a relationship with God and like appreciating the value that each other bring to each other. Um, that accelerates the personal and the together goals, like to just emanate more love on the planet. Like I take that job seriously, And so, yeah, just looking at all of those inside things. So anyway, it's like they weren't coaching you in bright line eating on self-compassion when you made mistakes. Like how do you do it? It was kind of like a business thing where they'd be like, oh, this is what happened, what I'm going to do different tomorrow is, and that, but that was like it. But there's a lot of guilt and shame going on. Like I was on coaching calls with hundreds of people. This is how I also know that during menopause, you absolutely can lose weight because I saw it. It's just about staying consistent, but you don't need to blow your brain into thinking you're an addict to do it, Anyway, yeah, like people would really spiral out, including the leader of the program, when they would be, eating. So anyway, yeah, fear-based versus love-based of like, okay, I see this, I'm saying these awful things, like let me actually feel my feelings. Let me go deep, let me heal some things, let me fix some things in my life that are out of alignment, because that energy in your environment affects your inner world. Like it's all like an ecosystem. Um, yeah, it's just if that's possible, then why wouldn't we want that, you know, just that inner peace and all the things. So anyway, right? So my friend was like, we both could appreciate the fact that Braille eating was great. And she actually had an easier transition, but she also had different life experience of like meditation and like, I don't know, she had but she still struggled with it a bit. And then I had my two other friends, and they also were coming out of that program. And one was the one I was talking about who was suicidal, and the other one for like a few years was still upset about certain things with the way she was eating and like anxious about it and you know um and that's just a long time to have your mental space be worried about something. I got over it rapidly, but it's because I invested in a coaching container to show me how to do it, right? Versus 3 years of them still being slowed down, suicidal, you know, and not feeling good to like it took me the worst of the worst was like the first probably the program that I did, I think it was like 3 months. And then after that, yeah, like 6 months, I was feeling a lot better. And then by like 18 months, my weight was stable and has been since then, you know? And it was just by continuing to work on my inner healing, the same somatic healer that I hired during that time is still on our team. She does absolutely awesome work. Um, yeah. And we have another coach on staff and but she's been through the program. She's just like this light angel from Australia. Like if you haven't met her, hello. Say hello to her. Um, and another gal who's been with us for years and same with another gal. Like we got a whole team of people that are just like excited, to support you through your transformation and really like have this be just a safe place, just a community of people to come together and be real about this, but then also in a big way, like make the decision not to struggle alone and like try to find all the little bits and pieces on your own for years and years and years. Like I literally watched them 3 years and I got over it a lot faster and I could see all their blind spots and I'm like, oh, well, they haven't learned that yet and they don't know that. Like they're struggling because of this and they're hard on themselves. They don't know how to feel their feelings. Like they don't have hypnosis. They didn't have coaching for the new mindset. Like they didn't invest in themselves. And that's fine. Like they had different values perhaps, but like I just can't understand why I would want to prolong suffering or how could I prolong suffering if I know what's happening and it's just a belief system and I just need to figure out what I want and pivot to the other side. Anyway, and yeah, the self-compassion and the whatever continues. And so anyway, love over war and learning how to be compassionate and moderate and accepting of yourself and making your environment as perfect as possible for how you want to live your life. Learning how to manage your emotional health, increase your emotional maturity, honestly, your spiritual life, your faith. Like, I think I'm very good at it, you know? And I think that it's very as simple as it is, it's very it's very awesome, you know? Like I literally feel like I'm just like playing with energy at all times. And if energy feels harsh and hard and you're exhausted and you're tired and you're sick of thinking about food all the time, it's just like the enough is enough. It's just like it takes so much. And like what if it could be like not only like not painful and not cause you to like lose money, lose relationships, lose precious time. Sorry. Makes me laugh. Like I'm just like, we have one life to live? Like to me, it's just like, how can you waste a second if you can? I don't know, but it's also fun to me, because I want to be like respectful of like, I get that some people, it's just, they don't value that. And I also know that like my growth edge is also to be present to like the little things that are just like in my entire, right, in the now. But that's what I'm talking about too. Like that is what mastering life is. But it is fun to see like how far you can go. What impact can you make as I just become a better and better human being? The amount of lessons that I've learned through taking the harder path of like not just continuing to numb out on my stuff, like is so incredible. It's just the best. I remember being in all these like personal development things when I was like 21 and the people in the seminars being like, I wish I got this when I was 21. Like I'd be such a different person. And it's just like I eat, breathe, sleep, like personal development and like new ways of thinking that and like, but also being yourself. Anyway, it's just like the best thing ever. And the more that I know that anybody embraces all parts of themselves and your uniqueness, and you get clear on what you actually want and then have compassion for yourself if you're not perfect and learn how to navigate all the things, you just get to have the best life. And if that's not enticing to somebody, that's okay. But for those who it is enticing to, it's like, join me, you know? I actually like just recently got this journal and it has you write out your life vision statement and it has you write out all these things that like gets your brain to kind of just like really focus on it. I got clarity in like a bigger way on like what I want and like it was like talking about like, oh, how would you know that you had a life well lived on your last day on earth or something? And one of them was that I didn't die with my work inside me. I didn't die with all the wisdom that I have accumulated about life and how to live a great one inside me, you know? That would feel like I know too much. Like I have a lot of wisdom and a lot of tools and a lot of training to like really change lives? And always advancing my knowledge. Like there's always going to be more for me to become aware of, and I'll continue to be present to everything, that feels like a signal from paying attention to everything to continue to show up as the best leader as possible. And I think that will continue to add to the body of work that I don't want to die inside me. Um, so that was just very interesting. And like, it's also interesting because I feel like not as many people listen to this podcast anymore. If you do, let us know. um, I know some people do, but like, you know, haven't quite put my finger on it yet, but we used to get like 8 calls a month at least from people from the podcast. And usually on average, we'd have 6 new enrollments, a month from the podcast. And like, yeah, just I still have you guys here and there. Um, but yeah, not quite sure. We still have as many downloads as we ever did. If there's more podcasts or if it's Ozempic, if you have any thoughts, but um, or if it's me and my energy, because I did just go through a very transformational year, so I know that that's part of it. But my energy is coming back, and I'm excited because again, like I believe that it's all kind of had me become who I am right now, which is definitely different than a year ago. Again, I'll make a different podcast on a different day going into that stuff. Um, but it truly is the compassion and the authenticity and the trusting self and like going into the empowerment section around food, body, and weight rather than the fear and crazy, whatever that could end up having you know, be in my friend's situation and be in my situation where I was just like binging, like I was binging a lot. I was gaining weight rapidly. Um, yeah, like I just started like really going downhill fast with my health. It felt like. But it was because I was masking this perfectionism, and I was like one of the ones that was like always perfect all the time, you know? But like I had one of the hardest like come offs of it, you know? And I just don't want other people to experience that kind of pain, you know, because I know that it's just lies inside of the head. Um, you know, if we were to, you know, classify like angel versus devil, you know, it's like consider that the devil, you know, gets inside your head and it's telling you a lot of lies, you know, whenever you're imperfect, and it really like impacts your ability to have amazing experiences and relationships, especially in your life, you know, versus like angel talk, you know, of just like how you would talk to a friend. Like, what if you could master being like that with your inner self? Um, Love yourself to freedom. That was the tagline the first time I ever made my website in 2013. LeslieMThornton.com doesn't even exist anymore. My NLP practitioner and hypnotherapist practitioner, I apprenticed with him for 2 years. He used to just, he helped me. Part of his package was he was going to get my first website up for me, and named it LeslieMThornton.com. And so he called me LeslieMThornton.com. Let's like on a regular basis. Um, yeah. But that was the tagline on the site, was love yourself to freedom. And it's still what I'm preaching, you know? And it's like, come and discover with me, like, what does love yourself to freedom actually mean? Because it's a lot of things, you know? Like I said, the simplicity and also the just like nuance of mastering with energy in life. Communication is energy. You have to master how to communicate, get to master how to communicate, you know? Like, it's stressful to talk to other human beings sometimes, you know? Like, it, yeah, life can be stressful, but if you play it well and you have all the different aspects, then it can be fun. And, you know, versus staying stuck thinking about food, body, and weight, because maybe it's safer than having to confront some of these situations or conversations or past traumas or things that haven't yet been covered, you know, or just perfectionist mentality or fears, worries, doubts. You know, that's the stuff that's hard, but with emotional mastery, it can be not, you know, bad or terrible. It can be nice. It can be, you can feel a lot better, a lot faster than you think. And I just want that for you because you deserve to feel good. You know, you work too hard not to feel good. So, gonna be more stuff coming at you. A lot more stuff. Hypnosis for permanent weight loss is about to be popping. Um, yeah, we're just like really, the doors are, yeah, getting oiled up. We're really like, I'm excited. We're just building it so that we can help a lot of people, and I feel really good about the energy, and I'm like, okay, it's happening, you know? And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for, you know, my continuing to do this work and surrender and play with the energy of life, which sometimes feels very scary, you know? Coming off a diet for good felt very scary. Recently, it's been my money transformation that's felt very scary. My relationship, like transformation, was very scary. It was hard. Um, but like, yeah, always had a coach, always had the best of the best support for myself, commitment to learn and like really see my blind spots. Um, just really made all the difference in the world. So that's my post on bright line eating and it being dangerous. So fear versus love. Are you in a state of fear on a regular basis, or are you pretty self-forgiving and loving and kind? I'm sure if you got this far, you're not. And it's a journey. It's a never-ending journey. It's not that I'm never hard on myself. It's still ever ongoing. But there is 0% hard on myself for anything that I eat or don't eat. And I just like love like just getting healthier every day and watching it through me doing this work. It's awesome. And yeah, just been, that path of love, right? Money is, it's so much better than it used to be, and relationship life is going well, and it's like I'm getting everything I wanted, but gotta choose love, baby. Gotta choose you. Gotta choose, what feels good to you, and going after anything that you want and trusting that you can, your desires are a green light. But be kind to yourself, and if this is resonating with you, if you know anyone who needs to hear this podcast, came out of a food addiction program or Overeaters Anonymous, or, is kind of crazy about this stuff, or, it's a sensitive topic and can be weird to bring up to people sometimes, but you can always share that you're listening to this podcast and you find it super interesting, and share some things about it and have them, inquire themselves if you're enjoying it. That can also often be just like a healthy way to share. Just had a client today say she was sharing like that. But it just, it's a ripple effect, and I'm excited to create this community together. I appreciate all of you as my listeners, and like, I hope you can make yourself known to me somehow, because I just know the importance of community. Like I was saying, as I was doing my thing of like not wanting my work to die within me, but it was also like, I am a community builder. Like I really like building community. I like having real conversations. I like people coming together and really talking about real stuff, but then also getting very poignant advice and like state-of-the-art tools to help them move past it fast. Like, that's so awesome, And that's the space I'd love to provide. And I want to be the leader that has people meet each other that like change their life for the rest of their life, like I have in the programs I've been in. Like, my life has changed from certain people I've met that are also attracted to that one program that was started by that one leader. Like, if I wasn't always in coaching groups that were virtual online groups that had communities built in and structure and support, like, I would have such a bland network. Like, my network is beautiful. Like, I love the people I've gotten connected to through all these things I've done in all these years. That's also something I just value, stimulating human beings that are up to something and wanting to make positive change in the world and impact. And I'm honored to be associated with all these people, and I just want to create that same type of thing. And I know I already have, in the hundreds of people that I've helped, the connections that were built, like whether they're present to it currently or were in the past or maybe will be in the future. Like, energy is just amazing, and I believe like attracts like, and that's the power of this podcast. So, again, if you know anyone to share it with, that might resonate with this conversation, please do. The more of us that come together, the more change we could make and bring more of that love vibration out into the world. So love you so much. Thanks for hanging out with me, and off to watch The Bachelor. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.